But I would never say anything negatively about Trump because he was such a good friend and such a big supporter.
UFC Commissioner Dana White joined Fox News' Brian Kilmeade for a two-part bootlicking sesh of Donald Trump, with both of them spewing nothing but MAGA propaganda and bowing down to their supreme leader.
Why does your audience seem to like the former president so much?
We're all very aligned in life and everything else. And it's not that it's any real political side. We're for common sense. It's all everybody's looking for. Everybody wants the same thing.
Yes, of course, Dana, because this is the common sense you hear from Donald Trump.
Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to end that. We're going to end it for boats. We're going to end it for trucks.
Nothing says common sense policy quite like rambling about shark attacks and getting electrocuted by a battery on a boat to make a statement against subsidies for electric cars. But we all know that policy has almost nothing to do with why so many people love Trump, Dana White included.
One thing about the former president, he wants to be the next president again. You know a fighter's heart. You stare in more fighters' eyes than anybody else to see what's in there. Where does he rank at 77?
Number one. Number one. You take any of the greatest fighters of all time, Trump is number one. The most resilient human being that I have ever met in my life.
Seriously, even for a puff piece, this is getting far too friendly for anyone outside of the Fox brainwashing machine to consider it to be a legit interview. The only reason Trump has been able to continue unscathed from his multiple bankruptcies, his multiple failed businesses, and his conman persona is because of his starting position in life, his father's business empire, vast wealth, and connections with other rich and powerful people have propelled his son Donald to the status he has today. That's not what a fighter is, and Trump is nowhere close to showing any signs of actual resilience. Resilience is getting out of bed every morning to work a grueling shift at an auto factory, or a migrant worker leaving their home country and family to work on a farm for pennies on the dollar, or a child doing everything they can to survive and protect their siblings because their parents died during an ongoing G-side that they just so happen to be born into. We can keep going, but that's who real fighters are and what real resilience looks like. And Dana knows this because so many of the same UFC fighters that he exploits for his own gain, like Leon Edwards and formerly Francis Ngannou, just to name a few, have overcome poverty, war, political instability, and or a myriad of other factors to make it to the top level of the same sport that has made Dana White rich beyond his wildest dreams.
You got money, you got a great life, you got whatever. Why keep doing this? And the one thing that I can tell you, and this is a fact, this guy loves this country, right? And he loves all Americans, regardless of what color, religion, or whatever it is. He's not a racist. He's a good human being, and he loves America, and he cares about this country. Period. End of story.
I can't believe this talking point is still being used today. Trump being a racist is one of, if not the biggest factor that has driven him to the top of his own party and has solidified his base of support since 2016. And it's not like we haven't known this about him before his presidential bid.
You better believe that I hate the people that took this girl and raped her brutally. You better believe it. And it's more than anger, it's hatred. And I want society to hate him.
Just weeks after the crime was committed in 1989, Donald Trump took out a full-page ad in 4 New York newspapers advocating the return of the death penalty. And when the city awarded the men a settlement in 2014, Trump wrote an editorial in the Daily News calling the settlement a disgrace. They admitted they were guilty. The police doing the original investigation say they were guilty. The fact that case was settled with so much evidence against them is outrageous. The woman, so badly injured, will never be the same.
Despite clear DNA evidence, a confession from the perpetrator, and a settlement from the city admitting wrongdoing and the miscarriage of justice, Trump still thinks that Yusef Salam, seen here, and the 4 others falsely convicted are guilty.
I apologize to Central Park 5. They've been exonerated. There have been videos and movies shown about the case, and you came out with a full-page ad saying that they should die, that they should have the death penalty.
Why do you bring that question up now? It's an interesting time to bring it up. You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case. So we'll leave it at that.
I've been told very recently, Anderson, that the birth certificate is missing. I've been told that it's not there and it doesn't exist. And if that's the case,
told you that?
That's a big problem. I just heard that 2 days ago from somebody. It's hard to believe that he doesn't just issue his birth certificate. It would be so easy to do if, in fact, he has one. And a birth certificate is not a certificate of live birth, which is a much, much lower standard, as you know.
Can you name even one person who your investigators have talked to? Just one?
I don't want to do that. It's not appropriate right now.
And we've barely scratched the surface of how Trump has ramped up his vile white nativist rhetoric regarding immigration in recent months.
The illegal immigrants are turning, and they're turning at a level that nobody's ever seen before. They're fighting our families. They're totally destroying our black population. They're totally destroying our Hispanic population.
Pitting two marginalized groups against each other while simultaneously blaming one group for the suffering of every group is textbook fascism. By removing himself and the Republicans away from the equation, since they, as well as the majority of Democrats, are responsible for the suffering felt by the communities Trump is talking about, he can then use migrants and immigrants and the racialized fear that's associated with them as a wedge between communities who should be allied in the common goal of defeating Donald Trump and his policy objectives. But as you'll see, the next bit of this rally speech puts this strategy in plain view.
And you know what else they're destroying? And for you, it means a little bit less, but it means quite a bit in this state. They're killing unions. They're killing unions because the unions are not able to survive. They're not able to survive this on.
And there you have it. Through a staunch union buster himself, Trump is obviously trying to keep his image as a populist intact while pandering to his union member supporters. Trump could not care less about protecting labor unions or fighting for workers' rights. But don't just take our word for it.
Donald Trump is a scab. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and that's who he represents. If Donald Trump ever worked in an auto plant, he wouldn't be a UAW member. He'd be a company man trying to squeeze the American worker. He said nothing. He did nothing, not a damn thing, because he doesn't care about the American worker. Now, here's what Trump did to help the American auto worker in our 2023 historic stand-up strike now that he's running for president. He went to a non-union plant, invited by the boss, and trashed our union.